Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everybody. We are your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
Today we are joined all the way from England by our friend Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm really good, thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, good. Well, I sort of ruined my next question, but where exactly are you from in England?
So I'm in near Southampton, in Hampshire, which is in the south coast.
Nice. And when were you first introduced to recovery?
Into recovery in general. So I'm nearly 18 months now, and I discovered a really nice, friendly recovery community on Twitter, yourselves being amongst it. And so 18 months now I've been going.
Nice.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right. And you answered my last question with how long you've been sober, the last 18 months. Congratulations. And it's really weird that you and Eric actually share the exact same clean date or sober dates. 7/11.
Sober date, clean date,
cool.
yeah. 7/11/17.
It's a good one.
It's a great
it's
one.
same back and forth.
It is a good one.
It's a great one.
It is a good one.
All right. Well, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your story with us. So take it away.
Okay, thank you. So it's peculiar talking to people you can't see, but I'm going to give it a good go. So my name's Rachel, and I'm 37 now, I think. And I think I've had a problem with drinking for my entire life. Every time I drank, I remember drinking at a very young age. I remember stealing my parents' booze, and actually I still have to confess to them that most of what's in their liquor cabinet is replaced with water because they don't drink, and I drank it all and put water back in there.
Nice.
I know, awful. I was a horrible teenager. I left home in a huff when I was 15. I was lucky that I was also stubborn, so I put myself through university, stayed through college, and I kind of did okay academically, but the whole time I don't think I've ever really drank normally, and I've been a daily drinker since I left home. So since I was about, 16 or 17, it was just totally normal to drink every day.
Yeah.
And not to I've never been able to do, those people that do a civilized glass of wine. I'm not those people. I'll do 2 bottles, 3 bottles of wine, and then wonder why I can't remember where I am and all that stuff. So,
Wow.
Drank. I mean, I wasn't a going out kind of a drinker. I'm not. I haven't been arrested lots. I haven't been chucked out of loads of nightclubs or anything like that. I would just sit on my own at home and drink. And I always managed to kind of keep my life afloat-ish. I got my degree. I did a master's degree, and I started a PhD. But I got married quite young, and then I fell pregnant. So which is lovely. I mean, it's not a regret of mine at all. But so I had 2 children, and I was married, and I got a teaching post. So I became a teacher kind of by default because academia wasn't very viable with 2 little children.
Yeah.
And I was still drinking then. I didn't drink when I was pregnant, but that just didn't seem to be a thing that crossed my mind then. I managed to stop. I'm not really sure how. When I had my children, I did quite a good job of not drinking till after 7. I wouldn't drink till they were in bed. And that, I kind of managed that for a few years. But then my husband and I divorced, and he would have the children Thursday through to Sunday. And that's, I think I gave myself permission then. You have nobody here that needs you.
Yeah.
So I was kind of done at that point. And that carried on I still held down a job, and, my house didn't look awful or anything, but I was of no use to anybody at all. And not emotionally present, actually, really, for anybody. Not emotionally present for my family or my parents, or, the kids was getting them up really early to get to where I had to go to work, to teach. And I think I went on to autopilot for kind of a few years, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that just kind of carried on. And obviously it's a progressive illness, so you're drinking, you have to drink more and more, and I was only drinking in the evening at this stage, so it wasn't, it was socially acceptable, I think. But it wasn't, I kind of knew it wasn't. I kind of knew actually most people aren't drinking so much, and they're not having to like, hide bottles, so they think, that other people won't judge them for how much they're drinking or lying about how much they're drinking and all that. I knew it wasn't really normal, but I didn't ever get round to saying I think I have a problem with alcohol. Other people used to say it to me quite a lot, but that was the quickest way to shut me down because I wasn't interested, actually. I then met my second husband. We've been married just over 2 years. So he has the pleasure of seeing me at my worst and at my best, I guess.
That's good.
And he's been really wonderful. I think I eventually flipped a switch into I can't manage normality. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And I was signed off work. I was physically really poorly, like couldn't stand up, really, really ill. And I just decided, I don't remember it being a conscious thought, but it was like, this is permission now. You don't need him to go to work anymore.
Yeah.
So for that 8 months, I wasn't even at work. Nobody needed me anywhere. I actually was really ill anyway, so it didn't matter if I felt hungover and shit, because I felt hungover and shit anyway. And I started. I didn't start morning drinking. I started actually waking up in the night and going, oh, look, surprise leftover alcohol, because I blacked out. And then drinking that, and it became a continuous cycle. So
that's just
I would excuse myself from driving.
That's like round-the-clock drinking.
Yeah, it was. And like, it's surprised he did an okay job of still cooking everyone dinner, and I don't know why that feels important to me, but the children, I've got 2 children of my own and 3 stepchildren, so it's quite a lot of kiddie care.
Yeah.
So the youngest 3 can't really remember me drinking, considering it was only a short time ago. And I wasn't violent or anything. I was just really crappy parent and sleep a lot and black. I can't remember a lot of things, but it did get not very nice. Like, their dad, my husband, was getting really cross at me, and he was just getting more and more aggravated. We were having arguments, and if he went out the house, he would take the kids because I wasn't fit to look after them, which I wasn't. And I kind of reached this point where even my dad's a retired naval officer, the British Navy, and he staged this sort of really bizarre intervention where he came over in the morning and told me I had too many empty bottles. And I remember feeling quite relieved because I'd already got rid of half of them. It's just like, that's not that bad, actually, But he actually took me to the pub, which is really weird, and said, what do you want to drink? And I was like, there's a right answer here, and it's definitely not wine. So I was like, Coke? And he staged this sort of peculiar intervention, and my parents and my husband insisted that I take myself off to an NHS, a national health, like a recovery centre. So you drop in once a week and you do basically like group therapy. And I didn't really want to go, but I had to go for an induction, and I went to the pub. You don't really have pubs in the States, do you? Like a bar over the road first. And I sat down and said, right, this is it. This is the last time I'm going to drink. So I had this glass of wine, and it was very ordinary. It wasn't, a big blowout, and just took myself in there. Had a chat with my recovery worker, and I went to that place for about 2 months, and then they said, you're kind of too sober to be here. Like, there are people who really need the kind of emergency, out of rehab type placements, and I wasn't having seizures or anything like that. So one of the workers said, oh, you should try a 12-step fellowship group, and I said, I don't really want to do that, actually. And he said, why not? And I said, well, I've seen it on telly, and it's around in a circle, and there's lots of God, and no, thank you. And he said, well, you should go. He said, oh, it's contempt prior to investigation. I was like, oh. So I took myself that evening, and it was a very scary thing to do. They're always in super dingy church halls, like.
Oh yeah, always.
And I walked in, always, and there was this, there was a group in one room singing. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I give a no job. And then there was another group having coffee, and I thought, oh, the coffee group looks okay. So I went in, and they looked thoroughly delighted. Like, I've never seen human beings so pleased to see me, so nice. And I don't know what I thought a group of alcoholics would look like, but not like that anyway.
Yeah.
That sort of stereotype of everybody lying on park benches and, pissing themselves. And they were smiling and friendly, and they, sat down, and it was a very small, a big book meeting. So we were reading a bit from the book and then commenting on the book. And I blurted out, it's the first time I'd ever said, my name's Rachel and I'm an alcoholic. And it was the relief of it. I was like, yes, I am. Okay. And this is where we go to hang out with the other people, and they all seem okay, and everyone seems smiling, and no one's shaking anymore, because I was withdrawing, I was shaking, and it was horrible, and yuck. And they said, well, they said, keep coming back. And I said, okay. So to be honest, at that point, I would have, if they'd have said, oh, let's go out, we're going out in the car park now to do Morris dancing, I would have gone out in the car park and done Morris dancing, because I was so desperate. I couldn't, I knew that if I'd lied to my husband again, if I'd have kept letting down the kids the way I was doing, we would have ended up splitting up, and I would have ended up homeless, and it was right on the precipice of big life disaster. And I think when you're drinking, these moments of awareness that you can't do this actually for much longer. And I was lucky that I got caught right on one of those moments of awareness where I was motivated enough to go and do this, and then to just do what people told me to do. Like, to accept, I wasn't actually that shit hot at running my own life, and I needed to listen to what other people said and stop thinking that I was clever and best than everyone. But I wasn't special and different. That I could, and having to look at myself and realise my faults and my flaws was super uncomfortable. But it was suggested to me at that first 12-step fellowship meeting that you get a sponsor and you find someone who is sober and has good emotional sobriety. So it happened that the woman that was sharing, then her story really spoke to me. She was a sort of home drinker and had children, and I thought, gosh, there's someone that could understand. And I asked her, and she said yes, and she would sponsor me. And from that day, really, I just kind of do what she suggests. And
it's weird how it sounds that simple.
It is literally that simple, though. And if I think I'm not a bad person. I didn't set out to do awful self-destructive things and things that were hurtful to other people. But my moral compass shifted. My moral compass definitely shifted. And over time, I was doing things that wouldn't have been acceptable to me 3 months before or 6 months before. So, it's interesting when you have to really look at yourself and ask. She says to me, "What's your part in that?" And there's always a part. It's always my part. Even, when I worked through my 12 steps and doing step 4, and she asked me to write a list of all my people I had resentments against. And I told my husband I was doing this. And he was like, "Sweetheart, you're going to be there for years." Because I was so good at holding on to grudges. Like I was writing down people in primary school. Like, when I was 4, this kid got to be Jesus in the play, and I totally wanted to be Jesus. No, God's sake, you're a grown up. Okay. But I was genuinely still pissed off about it. So, and when we came through and we got my list of character flaws, and I was like, I had no idea. I'm a, narcissistic, kind of self-obsessed arsehole, basically, left to my own devices. And I'd always thought I was quite a wonderful, giving, nurturing kind of person, and it turns out I'm not. I'm just super deluded. And but she did it in such a gentle, kind way, because I don't respond to being shouted at or told off at all. Well, nobody does, do they really? But I don't know. Some people do. You see them at the Olympics being yelled at, but
some people need that tough love, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm more for, would you like a cup of tea and let's have a chat? Kind of love, but it was actually very freeing, and all those resentments that I'd had, like I'm adopted, and I've always had this long-seated resentment against, my biological mother for not keeping me. And she just said, but look, you've actually got this really great life.
Mm-hmm.
She's done what she thought was the best thing. And to have freedom from that emotional baggage was massive. It actually genuinely was life-changing. And, I'd always been grumpy at my adoptive parents, and actually they did a brilliant job.
Yeah.
Really difficult bloody kid. And, they did a fantastic job, and it's just so nice to be able to be grateful and aware of what you have.
Yeah.
I think before, when I first started in recovery, I had to write down 3 things I was grateful for every day, and I used to struggle. And I have a house, I have a job, I'm sober, I've got beautiful children, I've got a husband, I started a business in the last couple of months. Everything's really lovely, and this is what normal life looks like. Normal life isn't constantly being super important and everybody saying how wonderful you are. And not I didn't expect that, but I always felt a bit cross if I did something and it wasn't, made a fuss of kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just been really, really nice to be able to adjust to something approaching normality. And now when I can feel I do still definitely have alcoholic thinking. I can still feel, resentment against things that are totally unreasonable.
Oh,
But I can tell I'm doing it and I can stop myself. And, with gratitudes, I do daily prayers. I read my daily reflections, 12-step fellowship book thing. And I'll go for a walk. I do exercise. I've learned to not give in to that, because that sort of style of thinking will make me eventually drink. So doing all those things and going to meetings and staying in contact with other alcoholics and addicts is what will keep me sober, and being useful, doing service. So when I saw that you wanted, people to do this is, a kind of service, and I ran it by my sponsor, and she said that's a really nice thing to do. So it's so hard to compared to where my life was. I literally was sitting in a darkened room, literally only concerned with, where was the next drink coming from and where can I hide the bottles from the last one. And to my life now, I've took my kids out wild swimming this morning, and my son's played cricket, which is super English game, and it was bloody freezing, but it was really fun. And we've, had a barbecue, and we've, it's just a different, it's not like having my old life back. It's just like having a different life, because I'm a better person now for it, I think. Yeah.
All right. All right.
And I have a sponsee now as well, which is really, really nice, because it's getting to do the work with somebody else is really rewarding in a different way. So it's trying to sort of, if I can give back even a tenth of what people have done to help me, then, that would be amazing, to be able to contribute to a community in that way and do something positive.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want all the negative stuff that happened to be, for nothing. It was really, poor choices and, uninformed decisions and things that I did. And I would like to be able to help people to see on the other side of it that you can kind of have a life where you're happy again. And that's, something that feels so difficult when you first stop drinking, when you first stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Is that
lots of talking all in one go?
that was all? Is that everything? You good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, that was great.
Yeah.
Eric, do you want to start with the questions, or do you want me to?
I guess I'll start.
Okay.
You usually start, right?
Yeah.
So I'll start. I don't think you mentioned this, but I'm going to ask anyway. When you started drinking or using or whatever, why? Usually a lot of people talk about why they started using. Why do you think you took that first drink or that first drug? What was kind of the moment where you're like, I want to take this?
I don't remember my first drink. My parents would let us drink wine, with with water in for Sunday dinner or on holiday when I was 9 or 10. Like, it wasn't a big deal. They didn't drink apart from that anyway. I know when I was a teenager, I used to go out and drink, and I think it was just to feel different. Such an obvious answer, but I was uncomfortable with me, and uncomfortable with what I thought other people thought about me, and uncomfortable just in my own skin all the time. And when I had drunk, I didn't feel like that, and I didn't make that connection at the time. I don't think, but I would always then drink if there was an opportunity or create one, and that's kind of a pattern that I took through to my adulthood. But I was not kind of I wasn't really shy or anything like that. I think I just always felt insufficient, like not enough. And when I had drunk, I mean, I wasn't getting blackout drunk when I was like 14. I was just, a bit embarrassing and what have you. But that feeling of not feeling quite good enough, I think, is the thing that probably fueled most of it. And I still have that a lot now. So I have to have a stern word with myself about that, because I am actually good enough, and it's going to take a while, I think, because you're trying to undo in sobriety, aren't you? Many years of thinking patterns, and but it's nice to know that when I'm not all swept up in emotion, I do rationally know that. I'm not sure why I thought that so much when I was younger. Perhaps with the being adopted more. My parents are both very keen for me to do well academically, and I'm dyslexic, so that wasn't an easily met goal. But yeah, I think it's that feeling of not good enough, and I've heard that before from other people too. And it was so astounding the first time you hear somebody say, and you think, "Gosh, I thought it was just me."
Yeah.
All
right. Well, throughout your process of active alcoholism, did anybody ever hint to you that like you had a drinking problem, and like how did you address it, or sort of like slide it away and just not address it?
Yeah, they did. And I had yeah, they did. I had a friend who would we have a little NHS like a scratch card, and you scratch off like how many units do you drink a day, and it was like a little question thing, and he would leave them around my house because I knew that even on the first answer I'd get more than you should do in a week, kind of thing. The first time I did it, pretended I hadn't done it, and I just used to put them in the bin and ignore him. When I had my two were younger, when they were toddlers, we had friends, we'd go around their houses, mummy gatherings. I wasn't very good at those, but we would, and everybody would have a civilised glass of afternoon wine, and, I was never very good at the whole one civilised glass thing. Yeah. But I think I just used to seek out people in situations that would be socially acceptable to drink. And if I couldn't find a way of doing that, I just used to drink when no one knew I was. So I wasn't a person that would hear when other people said they thought I drank too much. And when I first met my husband now, he said, "Oh, do you find it difficult to be around us?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, because you've drunk a whole bottle of wine already." And I was like, "Oh, have I?" And I was thinking, actually, sweetheart, it's two. I would just always, but then I would just make sure that people didn't know, so I could avoid those conversations. Yeah.
All right, the good old closet drinker.
Yes, literally.
All right, Eric. What else?
Funny now, not then.
Oh yeah. So before I ask the next question, what's the illness that you were diagnosed with?
Oh, I have an autoimmune disease. So I have you heard of celiac? It's where you can't eat gluten, but not in a trendy way. Yeah, like you have it and then you're dog sick for like 4 days. These people that don't eat gluten that can, they're arseholes. Nobody likes them because they eat all the nice biscuits. But,
those people are crazy.
Yeah, they are, because actually pizza's really super awesome, and just
Yeah,
eat it.
I love gluten.
Weirdo.
Gluten is awesome.
Yeah, no, if I could eat gluten, I'd be like, oh, nom, nom, nom. But, I have a rare form of that where I don't eat gluten, and my autoimmune system carried on attacking me anyway.
Oh.
So I know, also, it's just like, are you even on my side, autoimmune system? That's lame. But they basically give you immune suppressants, which is part of chemo, so you feel quite yucky.
Yeah.
But they give you those to shut down your immune system. But after you get over the initial first couple of months of taking them, I'm symptom free now, so that's actually super, super awesome. Because
awesome.
You know, not being sure if you can leave the house in case you're going to puke is not ideal.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, how do you manage having, this disease and then also, still participating in your recovery and making enough time for your family and making enough time for work? It's, just one extra thing gets added on top. It makes it a lot more difficult to make, everything work. So, I mean, how do you go about making sure that everything is managed correctly?
Okay, so the thing that comes first in my world is always my recovery, and this annoys my husband sometimes. He doesn't understand kind of fully. He's like a muggle, He doesn't. He's not.
Yes,
he's not
I call them muggles too. Yay!
He's a muggle. It's so cute. And but he doesn't want me to be ill again, and he understands that when I go and do meetings and I do things that are good for my recovery, and if I go and do service, if I see my sponsee or my sponsor, I'm better for it. So I have 2 meetings that I do a week. I see my sponsor once a week, and I see my sponsee once a week. So I try and do, the meetings in the evenings, and then the other stuff's in the daytime. I only work part-time now, and probably will only ever be part-time now, which is fine with me. I used to have a important management job, but it turns out it wasn't actually that important. Who knew? And my school have been kind enough to pay for me to do a master's degree. So I've retrained this year to work with children with dyslexia. So
nice.
I'm going to be at school, 2 days a week, which is fine. And then I get the rest of the time, to rush around after the kids to their various ridiculous social lives and all their clubs and things that they do. So it's putting the sobriety bit first, because without that, the rest of it just doesn't happen. And I've lived through watching it all implode, and I don't want to do that again. Yeah. So that's how it's organised.
All right. All right. You talked about like your first meeting and like how scary it was. And I really liked how you were talking about how you didn't visualize that alcoholics would look like this, because when we look in the mirror, that's what an alcoholic or an addict looks like. We look like us. We're all just normal people. I really like that. But how important was it for you to really vocalize that you were an alcoholic to another person or to a room of other alcoholics for the first time? Like how important was that?
It was really pivotal. I think the first time I'd come, I kind of tried when I was still withdrawing, and I kind of staggered downstairs and said to my husband, I just need help. And he cuddled me and held me really tight. And I thought, okay, so that was asking for help, and it was okay. Right, okay, because I'd never liked to do that. And I know lots of people say that. I'm not always too proud. Pride's a horrible thing. I think the first time I said, my name's Rachel and I'm an alcoholic, I didn't realise the power it was going to have. It was momentous, actually. It was really life-defining. It was the same feeling as when I got married, or when I first had a kid. I was like, right, this is something that's really important, and this stays with me forever. It was a really sort of deep emotional feeling. In fact, I can feel my heart rate's gone up talking about it, because and now I'm a very grateful alcoholic, because I'm a much better person. I'm a much, much better person for being able to say sorry and admit when I'm wrong. I'm much better for thinking of other people, for not immediately assuming that I'm always right. For all those things that other people do, automatically, or they don't do. And some some muggles will be definitely better off with a program, but they're not self-destructing and taking everybody else down with them. I'm very grateful that I'm able to say those words because, I think I honestly wouldn't have lived for a huge amount longer. The physical damage I was doing to myself. Yeah. I don't think I would still be here. So it's, I don't mean that melodramatically, but I just, you don't like to think of yourself as on the other side, do you? But I definitely feel like I've got some good years left now to do some good.
Absolutely. Is there gluten in like beer and wine?
Yeah, there is. Although I wasn't a beer drinker. There isn't gluten in wine, apparently, but I'm kind of okay with that. There's gluten in everything, though. It's even in the paper straws from McDonald's, for God's sake.
Yeah. I think...
Envelope thing.
Yeah. I have a follow-up to that. Was it hard? Did you find it difficult at all to become teachable in recovery? Like, after you asked for that help, was it hard to... to really apply it in your life?
No, because I'm not. I am a teacher, but I'm not very teachable, which is quite funny, really. I was kind of assuming that I slightly know better. That's a teacher thing. But I was so desperate for help, and I think there's a chap in my meetings who always says he has a gift of desperation. Desperation of a drowning man. He always says that. And I honestly would have done anything. So when someone says to you, you just have to write down 3 things you're grateful for. And that's all you do for a bit. And then okay, now we're going to add into that, we're going to start doing the serenity prayer. And you go, okay. Now it just kind of built up. And things that I'm not religious. I'm not from a religious background. No one's saying, right, we're going to go and convert to this religion and you've got to be dead. It's of your understanding. So even things, I think all you've got to do is suspend your disbelief. You're only doing things just for today, aren't you? So just for today, I can suspend my disbelief and I can think that there's something in this world greater than me and that there is a plan for my life and for the universe that's beyond my comprehension. Just for today, I can do that. And I mean, that's kind of the way I dealt with it, just doing things one day at a time, which is such a naff cliche, but it really is true. It helps you to right-size your problems and to live a much more authentic life.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Question pertaining to the higher power and all of that. So, kind of what you just said, that like it's the universe, something that you can't understand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess what I'm asking, and this will probably be kind of, David's like looking away right now, but
I don't care.
I know, but sometimes it gets, the questions about the God and stuff, it always gets kind of weird. But I guess, not being able to formally understand, the concept of a higher power in that sort of, magnitude, do you feel that, that whatever that is, because, I don't know, has any direct effect on your life and the outcome of decisions that you make?
So kind of like a causational view of God.
Ooh.
So I am of an academic background and in the arts and humanities, philosophy kind of thing. I used to quote Sylvia Plath a lot because she said, I talk to God, but the sky's empty. And I used to kind of make these very profound statements about, look at all the damage religion's done in the world and all that. I don't find it so hard to think that there's something that I can't understand now because I had an inherent arrogance when I was drinking and actually kind of ashamed of some of the things I would say. I always thought people that had faith were stupid, and I'm quite ashamed of that now because I have a faith in something now and I don't need to explain it or justify it to anybody. I just need to know that there's something that's there that's bigger than me. And I don't know if, there's a lot of coincidence in my life. People say this, don't they? And I would like to think that those coincidences are acts, are little signs from somewhere. But if you want to see something greater than yourself, go out for a run really early in the morning. Like I go wild swimming a lot now, and the beauty that's all around you is a definite sign that there's something beyond just humanity.
Mm-hmm.
For those things to be there, and fractal patterns in ferns and all these, just the beauty of nature and the beauty of the world around us, and actually the kindness and the beauty of humanity as well. Actually, I always used to see the negatives in things, and now I feel quite overwhelmed by how much good there is in the world. And I think for that to change, that's kind of like a little miracle, isn't it? So I think that if there is a higher power, if there is a God, it puts people in our lives for a reason. And meeting my sponsor particularly, being adopted by the parents I was adopted by, I think those people were the right place at the right time, and that's probably a bit too much of a coincidence for me, maybe.
All right.
So wait, you used to casually quote Sylvia Plath?
Yeah, I was a real pretentious arsehole.
That's okay. I casually quote Walt Whitman all the time, and people just look at me like I have three heads.
Who doesn't? That's so cute, though. That's very Lisa Simpson.
I just got called Lisa Simpson. Oh.
That's a good thing, though. She's the nicest character, right?
That's true. She is, and by far the smartest Simpson. So that's not. Yeah, it's not.
She is.
I'll take it as a compliment.
I wasn't trying to insult you. I was being nice.
All right.
I can't imagine how I ever pissed people off.
See, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be Bart Simpson, though. Like, I was the kid with the slingshot in his back pocket, sort of like...
Oh, really?
Yeah, being a total jackass. Like...
Oh, I'm not cool enough to pull that off, and I never have been.
I guess
at least I'm self-aware enough to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a couple questions. Okay, so you talked about all the good in the world, and, like, Eric and I... we've always seen sort of eye to eye on a semi-pessimistic level.
Very cynical.
Okay.
Yes, a cynical
Very
level.
cynical.
Yeah, maybe not pessimistic.
Okay.
A cynical level.
That's all right.
And what I sort of heard in like your last answer was like the beauty in the world and seeing the good in humanity. How important do you think it is now to really like be the change that you wish to see in the world, and how crucial has giving back in recovery helped you in your own personal recovery?
Yeah, it's immeasurable. And my first attempt at doing this was when I was like, I think I was 8 weeks, and the lady that was in charge of my home group meeting said, "Would you like to make the tea and coffee?" And partly I was like a little bit thrilled, like, oh, how exciting, I can do something useful. And partly like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm not making tea for anybody. And you're so much more important than, and it's so funny looking back. I was super.
It's an important job.
I know, but I didn't realise at the time, So I did teas and coffees. I've been birthday secretary. I've gone and washed up. I make cakes, so I've made lots and lots and lots of cake for meetings. And we had a nice one at Winchester Cathedral recently. It was the anniversary of I think was it Bill or Bob? I get told off now, but coming over to Winchester and seeing the grave, it's in the front of the book, so the grave's still there. And we had all these people come, and I did the tea and cake for that. And, it's funny because the more you do, the more you get out of it, and it's such a joy now to see newcomers who are kind of taking on those roles, and they're having to. It's not so much that you're serving up tea; it's that you're having to connect with people. And I think either emotionally or actually, people do so much isolating in addiction, and it forces that connection, doesn't it? Actually, and it's such a healthy thing to do, and in such a non-threatening atmosphere as well. You know that you're able to you're not going to be judged because you can't remember if someone has sugar or whatever. It's just it's such a nice way to become part of the community, and I've really got a lot back from helping whenever I can. So I always say yes. If I can do something, I will. I've also learned to say no if I can't, which was quite a big deal because I always used to say yes to everything. So I say no now, which is good. And it's funny actually because from doing service and recovery, I've I've volunteered at my daughter's brownie group, so like Girl Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone and helped out there, and I've helped out at sporting events, and I've helped out some of my friends with their running training. I've randomly today been volunteered to do the teas and coffees at cricket.
Nice.
I was like, okay, hang on, but that's fine. You know, it's not a problem. I can serve up tea apparently to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just making those connections with other people, and it's really nice to not feel isolated, either self-imposed or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you're just as worthy as being there, and you know, you have a real place, and it's lovely. It's really nice.
All right.
Like I joined Amnesty International, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Had the whole new consciousness of recycle everything. We recycle everything now. You know,
absolutely.
Like recycling crazy people, whereas before I really couldn't have cared less. So it's really nice to have this sense of being a world citizen, you know, beyond just your little darkened room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. What else you got, Eric?
So I guess you know, kind of with the online communities of, you know, recovery and the different fellowships, and you know, you were talking about group therapy, and you know, different forms of psychology and stuff like that. You know, recovery kind of can mean something different to everyone. You know, even though you might go to a meeting, and you know, I know sometimes when I go to meetings, it's like, nope, this is the way. This is the only way. There is no other way. If you don't do it this way, you're gonna die. And I don't. Well, but you know
Yes.
exactly what I'm
Yes.
talking.
Oh, I know.
You've heard it a
Yes.
million
Yeah, I know what
times,
you're
you know. And I personally believe that philosophy is dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my question is, what does recovery mean to you?
Well, I stumbled into mine, and I stick it and do as I'm told because it works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can see that it works, and I can feel that it works. But you know, I don't necessarily think that one size fits all. And there are people who, you know, don't drink, who don't go to 12-step fellowships, and I've met quite a few of them on Twitter actually, and they treat, one in particular treats alcohol as if he's allergic to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of made up his own little program. He's, I mean, the whole allergy analogy is the allergy analogy. Nice.
Ooh,
that's
nice.
awful. Sorry. Sorry. But that is the thing. I mean, that's a kind of 12-step thing. But he really kind of lives by that. And I'm really happy so long as people have their best life. I don't think being particularly dogmatic helps anybody.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't. We don't have a special. I don't feel like I have a special stance because I've done a 12-step recovery. I'm just as happy for people who have recovered, who have, you know, tried other methods and other means, because what matters is that we get well and that we stay well.
Yeah.
I'm not super up for the whole dogma thing actually at all. I find when other people are saying you have to do it this way, that actually kicks in the alcoholic in me. I'm like, I'll do it whatever damn way I want. You know, I always wanted to have a choice. And I mean, I feel like I have a lot of choice in my 12-step recovery, that because of the way my sponsors taking me through. But when people start being dogmatic, I worry that isolates actually the people that you probably need to help. Maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy if people are getting well and staying well.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna piggyback on that one a little bit. I thought he was gonna steal my question for a second. How has social media recovery outlets? How have they helped you in recovery?
It has been incredibly helpful. I used to use Twitter a lot for my teaching. So I actually wrote a book. I've actually written a couple of books, and one of them was entirely written with collaborators from Twitter, like you do. And the money went to charity, so that was lovely.
Nice.
So I did do nice things, and I was still drinking, not very often. But I started an anonymous Twitter because I wanted to be able to vent, and I knew that I sounded crazy. You know, I couldn't have put the things I was putting on my my teaching one, God no. And so I just made an anonymous account. I used to blog every day, actually. I did for the first 60 days, and I just stopped because it was helpful to a point, and then I kind of got that out of my system. But I found a really lovely little group on Twitter, #recovery posse, and made really good friends with some of them. And so some of them have migrated, and they're my Facebook friends now as well. Just such lovely people, and a lot of them are Americans. So, when I was having a crisis, I don't know when you guys stopped drinking or using, but my sleep just went all over the place. And 3 a.m. I could have called somebody, but actually that would have been a bit of a arsehole thing to do. So I used to just talk to people on Twitter because you were always awake.
And, exactly.
It's always somebody there.
We're the country that never sleeps.
Always. Yes, totally. And but in such a helpful way.
Yeah.
And people were so giving of their time and their advice, and it actually, I think people thought I was a man for quite a long time. I'm a guy. No. Because I've got a picture of my cat instead of me. But he's magnificent, obviously. But it just, I only really used Twitter. I did have some Facebook. I was on a Facebook group for a while, but they were kind of let's see if we can drink normally again kind of group. And I actually decided that was never going to be a thing for me. It's actually easier not to, full stop. So I kind of ditched the Facebook stuff and just went with Twitter in the end. So I had a hard time around Christmas. Isn't Christmas awesome? Not. And I started tweeting my gratitude lists every day.
Nice.
And now people send them to me, which is so lovely.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really, really nice. And they're ridiculous. I went to my first yoga class and I didn't fart. Hooray. Or, just stuff like that. And it's actually just given me this amazing level of connection. You see people in those communities. It's like having friends, and actually people have relapsed and I've supported them, and people have had sobriety birthdays. When I had mine, my phone was bonkers all day. When I had my first sobriety birthday, just people who'd remembered the date and wishing me well, and it was just so lovely. It's like having a little cheer squad in your pocket.
Yeah.
Really nice.
All right.
I like that. Cheer squad in your pocket.
Cheer squad in your pocket.
Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
How many you got left, Eric? I got one more.
I can do one more. Am I going to steal yours? Probably.
I'm going to go first.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So you have, you've completed the 12 steps?
I have.
All right. You have to pick one. Which was your favorite step?
12.
12. All right.
It's our second 12.
Straight away.
Yeah.
Practice these principles in all our affairs. There's something. It's just that recovery is not a thing that you do for 5 minutes when you do your prayers when you get up in the morning. It's something that you live.
Yep.
And that there was a definite point for me when I had a life and I had a recovery. And I can't tell you when it happened, but my life and my recovery became one and the same.
Yeah.
Just that I was trying to do my best life, and that meant living the principles of my recovery. And I think that probably started in step 10. But I think by the time I got to when I finished, well, no, I never finished this. When I was working on my step 12, I really felt like this is what it is like to be a human being with purpose that does good. And I think that is helping to address all those fear-based things that made me feel inadequate in the first place. So it's been very holistic.
All right. Perfect.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I always forget about, I like how you talked about merging.
Yeah.
Because it does say all of our affairs. And I don't think I've heard that before.
No, I haven't either.
Cool.
My ears perked up. I'm gonna steal that from you.
Oh, thank you.
So, I guess my last question, when getting, clean and sober, we tend to find different vices to fill the void of addiction. So,
How did I forget that question?
I know you always take that.
I always take
don't
that
you?
question. Son of
So
a bitch.
since giving up alcohol, what is something that you've been using to fill the void, other than drinking?
Yeah. So in the first 2 weeks,
Maybe you should. Maybe you should have gone first.
I ate. I couldn't tell you how many I ate. Do you have Maram sweets in the States?
What? Mallow sweets?
Maram sweets. No, M-A. Oh, I'm dyslexic. Spelling things has never been my best. Hang on, I'm trying to see if my husband's got any in his office. I can see how to spell them. He hasn't.
Are they like candy?
Ridiculous. Like probably.
Just like candy?
Yeah, like candy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on. We must have. Yeah, so like candy, and it's chewy, and oh my god, I ate so much of it, and it was just ridiculous. So I did sweets, and then I realised actually this is not a viable long-term plan, and I was just going to get diabetes. So, so now I do. I was a runner before, but I run for my own sanity and for not strangling the others around me. I do open water swimming, which I find super, super peaceful and meditative and lovely. And I do yoga actually with some 12-step recovery friends. We all go. Yoga teacher's like, you're a very unlikely bunch of friends. I'm like, yes, aren't we? Moving on. So, it's actually been because I just didn't do anything. I didn't do anything, and I would always say it's because of the kids and stuff. But actually, it's not true. I just couldn't drive anyway because I was drunk. So. And I do loads. I do lots of volunteering at school as well now. But I think, to be honest, the replacement thing is mostly I just ate a shit ton of sweets.
Yeah.
I
fucking love candy.
It's so good, and I never
It's
used
so-
sweets before.
it's
Like
so
I
good.
literally, I didn't really eat properly. I didn't eat anything, to be honest. But things you try and cook when you're drunk because you realise you haven't eaten for 2 days and not count as a meal. But
Yeah.
I do like candy, and I really enjoy I used to enjoy cooking actually before my drinking got really bad. I really kind of got back to that again as well. So my husband's put on loads of weight because I'm a feeder now.
All right. I actually thought of one more question. One last question.
Okay.
So you've gone through the 12 steps. How important, since you're not necessarily a spiritual person, none of us in this room are particularly either. But with step 11, with prayer and meditation, how crucial were both of those things in like learning what they meant to you and how to implement them in your life?
I think that's going to be a process that goes on for
Oh yeah, absolutely.
the rest of my life. I definitely haven't reached this point where I'm living in the fourth dimension or whatever it is people say. I have an app that I use to meditate, and I found I like it best because it doesn't have any water noises in the background, so I don't need to pee halfway through using it. I've got an app that I really like, which I use. I've got another app which you can put the words of a prayer in. So if it's your step prayers or Francis prayer or whatever it is, and it brings the words up slowly so you get a chance to kind of sit and think about them. But a lot of the meditation I do is moving meditation. So when I'm running or when I'm swimming, I don't run with music. I sometimes run with recovery books, actually. I find that quite helpful. But just to run with myself outside, I came to an agreement with my God of my understanding quite early on that we didn't have to kneel down, that we were fairly kind of informal. Because I did my first share, and the woman that was chairing said, would you like to go and kneel in the bathroom and pray? And I was like, no, my God's pretty cool with me standing up, thanks.
Nice. Love it.
Kneel in the toilet, thank you very much. No tough. So I think it's because you're not aping a spiritual tradition, you're finding what fits for yourself. And for me that looks like just being still 5 or 10 minutes a day, or if I can feel something is not right, I can feel something's not right, and it's usually I'm not right with something. In fact, it's always that. Working out what that is, and it's most often you don't need to do anything. This is just an uncomfortable feeling. This is what it's like to be human, and it will pass. And having that awareness and that time to give yourself that that's, I don't have I know there are people that have these lovely spiritual kind of rituals and things, but I have to bust 5 kids out to school in the morning. I have to get to work. I have to, I need to do what feels right to me, and imitating spirituality doesn't feel right to me. So I negotiate it on my own terms.
I love that. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we are all out of questions. So we would like to thank our guest, Rachel, for joining us today. Great job. Give us a golf clap, Eric. Oh, God, it's a worst golf clap ever. We really need a soundboard, man. We suck.
Eventually. I'll get there. Okay.
No, but seriously, you did a great job. We do greatly appreciate it. So thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
All right. Oh yeah, and well, before I sign out real quick, I just want to give you a quick minute to say, what's a message from you to anybody out there that's struggling and just needs to hear a message of hope? What words do you have for them?
Just that if you ask for help, people will surpass your expectations, that people do want to help you, and that you can do this. There is a life beyond what you're having to live now.
All right. Short and sweet. I love it. All right. Well, here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right. Well, thank you for coming on today. Keep tuning in. Send us your tweets. Like us, subscribe us, invite your friends. Check out our Facebook. Check out our website. All that good stuff. And everybody, thanks for listening. Stay safe and stay sober and clean.